What's it like? Because I feel like people don't really grasp, like, radio obviously nowadays is a whole different ballgame. But in the 90s, like, doing hip-hop radio at Power 106, like, that had to be, like, just the politics you had to deal with.
Dude, when I walked in the first time, the first people that I met was like Chalk and C minus.
Shout out to fucking
almighty
Mr. Chalk.
Freaking Roughnecks.
Yeah.
The Baker Boys. You know what I mean? Shout out Nick and Eric. I mean, because these were the guys that, like, I mean, I used to be that kid that would drive up just far enough to listen to K-Day AM.
Right.
You know, and Julio G. Shout out Tony G and the original Mixmasters.
Right.
I mean, that was what I would do. You know what I mean? I was such a fan of it. You know, and then when Michelle and even The Beat and Eazy-E and Julio and Rest in Peace Eazy-E and West Side Radio and, you know, just all of that stuff and those icons, that's what I grew up on.
So you're the music director for how long?
The format of the station when we first started wasn't hip hop.
It was just CHR rhythmic hybrid.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was doing this. It was CHR kind of, but it was like Artie the One Man Party, then Boyz II Men and Mobb Deep, and you know, it was kind of all over the place.
Right.
And I was like, we need to go straight West Coast gangster rap.
Right.
That's what we need to do. And they told me, you're fucking crazy. You know what I mean? I was like, dude, I want to put Ain't No Fun in Morning Drive.
Right.
And they were like, dude, what about All About You? What about Life Goes On? What about, you know, all of these records that I knew were huge in the street? Because you have to remember, I started off as a DJ. I started off, you know, my first job at KHCY in Santa Barbara after being an intern was the night jock. So I'm going to high school. You know what I mean? As the night jock programming my own show.
Crazy.
So I knew what the streets were listening. Plus, all of my friends, you know, growing up in Santa Barbara, you know, yeah, I'm white, but, you know, it was basically identifying as young Mexican. You know what I mean? Like, it was just... that was all my friends. So growing up, you know, the first tape I heard, you know, that blew my mind was Gangsta Gangster. You know what I mean? And Eazy-E. So I stole that tape. You know what I mean? Right. And that's what my friends were listening to. So when I got to Power, that was my mission. Right. Was like, we're going to make West Coast rap the #1 format in the world. And they said, that just won't happen.
So this is around the time of
97.
So 97. So this is Pac and Biggie passed.
No.
By now?
Okay. So when I'm in Santa Barbara,
because obviously Biggie died what, March of 97.
Biggie was sitting in my office the morning before he died.
What?
He had done a radio run and he literally,
because we always see like that legendary cameo stop he had.
Yeah.
So then he was in LA.
Yeah. So he went to the Baker Boys show, and he was on crutches because, you know, he'd gotten that car accident with C's.
Yeah.
And what happened is he did the beat and he played Bone Thugs and Harmony, and I heard it the night before, and I flipped.
Notorious Thugs?
Yeah. And I flipped, and I called Puffy, and I was like, bro, homie, one, Bone Thugs and Harmony is a Power 106 artist.
For sure.
And two, we got the Baker Boys. So what are you doing? And he goes, we'll be there tomorrow morning, miss. And that was that. You know what I mean? So he came on and he played like Hypnotized, Notorious Thugs, Kicking the Door.
He's just breaking
what
records.
I mean? He was just playing all of them. So, I mean, it was like crazy. And then he comes down the thing and he's on his crutches and he looks in the thing. And this is the second time I met him because we had a show at the Palace in Hollywood the night before. And I don't think, you know, Snoop doesn't get enough credit for trying to kill the East-West beef. I mean, literally the night that we had this show at the Palace, Biggie's on stage in the middle of all of this stuff. He just got booed at the Source Awards. I had the Dog Pound on stage, and I'm like, yo, you guys stop by. And they're like, I don't know, you know, it's a little hot. And I'm like, dude, I got this. Just come. Biggie gets out of the car. You know, Puffy, Mace, all of them get out of the car. And they come out, and I'm like, this is Snoop, this is da-da-da. And I start realizing, like, by just introducing everybody, and everybody's going to be cool. We had Ice Cube there. We have all these people there. So I'm introducing everybody. Everybody's cool. Biggie goes out on stage. I go to E-Man. Hey, E. Big's on stage. He's like, dude, I didn't bring any records. I didn't think he was going to show. So he just plays Crush on You. And Big does what he wrote for Lil' Kim. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And Snoop comes out in the back and just starts dancing. And I'm like,
And this is
East-West beef what?
This is in the middle of the beef.
In the middle of all of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I had met Pac before that. And, you know, I mean, when I was doing alternative, you know, they'd have these after the Grammys, you know, they have those parties and stuff like that. Well, MCA had one at the Four Seasons. It's a famous one where Pac was in the Versace with Kiss and all that. And afterwards, they came to the Four Seasons. Well, Suge Knight and Pac and everybody comes running in. Everybody hits the walls. But I'm like, fuck, that's Pac and Suge.
Yeah.
So I just walk up and I'm like, hey, Pac, nice to meet you. He's like, nice to meet you. He said, I love the new album. And it goes from this happy to, the album doesn't come out till Monday. How the hell did you get it? And I was like, what? And he goes, how did you get my album? Suge, somebody got the album before release.
Well, then you had to explain, I'm a radio guy. The label sent me the advance.
I'm like, I'm an alternative radio, so they know we're not going to play it. They sent it to me on the Friday before the release date.
Yeah.
And Suge goes, ah, ha, 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 and just turns around, and Pac goes, what's your favorite song? And I go, oh, song one, this two, a million pair of eyes looking hard. And he finishes the sentence with me and slaps my hand and goes, did you meet Snoop? Did you meet so-and-so? You met Nate? You met da-da-da-da? MC Hammer? I was like, MC Hammer with you guys?
Yeah, he was,
you know
I mean? He was rolling with Death Row.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It was like hip-hop fan overload. You know what I mean? Like,
no, but it's interesting. I'm going to go back to the show that, like, imagine if Instagram existed then and you would see Snoop doing his Snoop dance on stage with Biggie.
Yeah, but that was a moment.
That's a moment.
So while Snoop's there, I say...
I'm assuming that this show transpired after Pac died?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. This is probably around February or March 97.
Right. So this is okay.
No, it was March 6th, 5th.
Right.
97. So it was just a couple days.
4 days before, 4 days before he
Big
passed.
was gone.
Damn.
So he was doing that radio run or whatever, and he came in and he just sat down, and then Nick and Eric come in and go, we need him to record a freestyle. And I was like, oh, and he's like, oh man, my legs, damn, can I just sit here for a little while? And Nick and Eric go, look, why don't you record it when he feels like it, and whatever. So Big's sitting there, he looks over and he just says, God, I love being in California. And I'm like, what? And he goes, the women, the weed. He goes, man, I'm going home soon. I just got good with Faith again. I'm gonna go see my daughter. You know, man, I love it. And we just sat there and we talked for like 30 minutes just about all this. And he's like, all right, man, let's go do this, Dame. And I was like, all right, cool. So we go in there and I go, do you need a piece of paper? And he goes, nah, I write everything in my head.
Right.
And I was like, what? And he goes, I'll just do the verse from Victory. He goes, Puff album coming out. I wrote some stuff. I'll just do the verse from Victory. And I was like, all right, cool. So I'm sitting there, and he goes in the booth. He's like, yeah, 1 2 1 2. Put the headphones on. I'm watching this Icon rap, and I'm just going like, yo. And he's like, so what you think of that? And I'm just like, oh, yeah, great. You know, it's like, he goes, you need me to run it again? Da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, cool. He's like, nah, cool. Left and whatever. So E1 the next night, I was going to the Outkast party because Outkast had just gone platinum or whatever it was with AT Aliens or something.
Probably AT Aliens.
Or Aquemini or whatever. And
AT
whatever. So I love those guys. And shout out Gip Goody.
Yeah.
But anyways, so I go home and go to bed because they didn't let me into the Roxbury because I had tennis shoes on and blue jeans.
Right.
And I didn't even know about the Quincy Jones party. You know what I mean? The Peterson Auto Museum party. I was just like, well, I knew, but I was like, look, if they're not going to let me into this, I'm sure as hell not going to get into that. So I just went home and went to sleep. And about 12:30, E1 calls me up. Shout out E1, Mad Pro and Nerve and all of them. He calls me up and he goes, they got big. I was like, what? And he goes, they got big. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And I hear Puffy wailing in the background. He goes, I'm at the hospital. Puffy's on the phone with Biggie's mother right now telling him that. And I was like, wait, don't tell me. And he goes, Big is dead. And I was like, what just happened? The dude was just like...
In your office, yeah.
And that was like, you know, meeting Pac and then Pac dying and then seeing Big and then Big dying. It was like, what's going on? Like,
Right.
wow. And that was kind of how my introduction to what was happening in the street and death row and Suge Knight.